You won't believe what happened after I said just one simple word. No, it started out as a normal day at my cabin resort, a place I built with my own two hands to escape the chaos of the world. But when the local HOA didn't get their way, things took a dark turn, one that left my whole property burned down. Yeah, they literally burned my cabin resort. At first, I was shocked and angry, trying to make sense of how things spiraled so far out of control. But as the dust settled, I uncovered something no one expected. I actually hold the key to their funding approvals. The very people who tried to crush me now depend on me more than they know. This isn't just a story about property or power. It's about standing up when the odds are stacked against you and finding strength in the most unexpected places. You'll meet the people behind the HOA's ruthless actions, and I'll take you through how I went from being their target to becoming the one who controls their fate. But the story doesn't end here. What I'm about to reveal next will change everything and shake the foundation of this whole community. Stick around, because you won't want to miss what comes next. Trust me, this is just the beginning. Before all this chaos, my cabin resort was my pride and joy, a quiet getaway tucked away from the noise of the city. I invested years into building it, carefully crafting every detail so visitors could experience peace and nature. But the HOA wasn't happy. They had strict rules and demands that felt more like control than community. I tried to work with them at first, hoping for a fair compromise, but when I stood firm and said no to one of their unreasonable demands, everything changed overnight. That refusal wasn't just about a simple disagreement, it was a challenge to their authority, and they didn't take it lightly. I started noticing subtle threats, then things escalated, rumors, vandalism, and finally the fire that destroyed the resort. The timing was too suspicious to ignore. While the smoke was still clearing, I delved deeper and found something that flipped the whole story on its head. I realized the HOA wasn't just a group of neighbors. They depended on me to approve crucial funding for their projects and upkeep. Without my say-so, their plans could stall indefinitely. This twist gave me a strange sense of power, but also a heavy responsibility. I knew I had leverage now, but what would I do with it? Could I turn the tables, or would this just drag me deeper into a battle I wasn't prepared for? The next moves could change everything for me and for the whole community. As the reality sank in, I started seeing the HOA in a completely new light. These weren't just neighbors with petty grudges. They were a group with their own agendas, political games, and a lot more at stake than I first thought. Behind the scenes, they controlled local developments and held sway over property values, community rules, and funding that affected everyone. My cabin resort was more than just a personal retreat. It was tied into the bigger picture of how this whole neighborhood operated. That no, I said, wasn't just a refusal. It was a challenge to their entire system. At the same time, I was juggling calls from insurance agents, worried investors, and neighbors who suddenly seemed nervous to get involved. Some of them hinted that the HOA had been involved in shady deals before, but nobody had the proof or the courage to speak up, until now. There was a deeper conflict brewing between keeping the peace in the community and exposing the truth about those in power. Some neighbors sided quietly with the HOA, afraid of what might happen if they spoke out. Others reached out to me in whispers, hoping I could be the one to finally shake things up. Meanwhile, the funding approvals I controlled became a secret weapon. The HOA needed my permission to keep their projects alive, but using that power felt risky. Would it make me a target again? Or could I leverage it to demand real change? Every decision seemed to pull me deeper into a maze of threats, alliances, and betrayals. The fire that burned my resort wasn't just an attack on me. It was a spark lighting a much bigger battle, and I had no idea how far it would go, or if I'd come out of it unscathed. Every day, the pressure was mounting. The HOA kept pushing, trying to find ways around me, whispering threats that felt darker than before. I started getting strange visits, some friendly, some not so much, from people who wanted to talk things over. It was clear they weren't just upset about the fire anymore. They wanted control back, and fast. Meanwhile, I was holding the power to approve or deny their funding, the very lifeline they needed to keep their influence alive. It was a dangerous game, and one wrong move could cost me everything. The neighbors' whispers grew louder, some warning me to back off, others urging me to stand my ground. I realized the community was divided: loyalists to the HOA, fearful of change, and those quietly rooting for me to bring justice. At night, I'd lie awake wondering how far they'd go to protect their secrets, and whether anyone I trusted might turn out to be working against me. The fire wasn't just a tragedy, it was a message, a warning I couldn't ignore. Then came the moment that shook everything: a sudden meeting called by the HOA, with everyone watching to see what I'd do. The room was thick with tension, eyes locked on me, waiting for a sign of weakness. I had to decide: play their game or risk burning bridges forever. The funding approvals sat like a ticking time bomb in my hands, and I knew this could either be my last stand or the turning point that changed everything. But as the meeting started, I felt the weight of what was coming, and the realization that no matter what happened next, nothing would ever be the same. Just when I thought I had a handle on the situation, something unexpected happened that turned everything upside down. During that tense HOA meeting, right as I was about to speak, a message slipped into my phone, a video no less. At first, I hesitated to open it, but curiosity won. What I saw made my blood run cold. Footage from the night of the fire, showing someone I never suspected walking away from the blaze. Not just anyone, the HOA president himself. This revelation changed the entire game. Suddenly, it wasn't just about power struggles or funding approvals. It was about uncovering a cover-up that ran deeper than I could have imagined. If this got out, it could shatter the HOA's influence and expose the corruption festering behind closed doors. But it also put me directly in their crosshairs. They'd already burned my resort to send a warning, and now I had proof that the threat was personal and calculated. On top of that, whispers started circulating that some members of the HOA were planning to bypass me altogether, trying to secure alternative funding without my approval. The pressure to act fast was suffocating. Could I use this video to take control, or would it just make me a bigger target? With every move I made, the stakes grew higher, and the line between ally and enemy blurred more than ever. The fight wasn't just about a cabin or funding anymore. It was about exposing the truth and surviving the fallout. And the worst part, I still had no idea who I could really trust. The moment I showed that video to the rest of the community, everything exploded. The HOA president's calm mask cracked, and the room filled with gasps and whispers. People who had been silent for years suddenly found their voice, demanding answers and accountability. The evidence was undeniable. He was caught red-handed, walking away from the fire that destroyed my cabin resort. With the power of the funding approvals in my hands, I was able to freeze the HOA's projects, stopping their plans dead in their tracks. For the first time, I felt like I was truly in control. The community started rallying around me, wanting real change and transparency. The corrupt system that HOA had built was finally crumbling, and I was at the center of it. But just when I thought the battle was over, the biggest shock came. During the final meeting to decide the future of the neighborhood, someone dropped a bombshell. A whistleblower from inside the HOA revealed that the president hadn't acted alone. There was a secret alliance with outside investors who had been quietly trying to buy up properties, including mine, to turn the area into a commercial resort. The stakes had just gone from local politics to a much bigger fight, one that could change the entire community forever. As I looked around, I realized this war wasn't just about me or the cabin anymore. It was about protecting the heart of the neighborhood from forces that wanted to strip it away. And now, the real challenge was just beginning. After that whistleblower's revelation, everything shifted. The community finally saw the full picture: how the HOA's leadership had been working behind the scenes with outside investors to take over not just my cabin resort, but the entire neighborhood. People who had once been afraid to speak up came forward, joining forces to protect what mattered most: our homes, our land, and our voices. With the funding approvals I controlled, I was able to block the shady deals and force a complete investigation into the HOA's actions. It wasn't easy. There were tough conversations, heated meetings, and moments when it felt like the fight might break me. But through it all, I learned the power of standing firm and the importance of community coming together. My cabin resort may have been burned down, but it became the spark that ignited real change. The people who tried to silence me ended up exposing themselves instead. It wasn't easy. There were tough conversations, heated meetings, and moments when it felt like the fight might break me. But through it all, I learned the power of standing firm and the importance of community coming together. My cabin resort may have been burned down, but it became the spark that ignited real change. The people who tried to silence me ended up exposing themselves instead. In the end, this story isn't just about one man versus a HOA gone rogue. It's about reclaiming control, speaking up when it matters, and never underestimating the power we have when we refuse to back down. If you ever find yourself in a battle that feels impossible, remember, sometimes saying no is the first step toward protecting everything you love. The people who tried to silence me ended up exposing themselves instead. In the end, this story isn't just about one man versus a HOA gone rogue. It's about reclaiming control, speaking up when it matters, and never underestimating the power we have when we refuse to back down. If you ever find yourself in a battle that feels impossible, remember, sometimes saying no is the first step toward protecting everything you love.